나 살고 싶어요. 나 죽기 싫어요. 살고 싶어요.
Think K-drama plots are too unrealistic? Here are 9 real-life stories that feel like K-dramas. Except they're all true. We're talking plot twists so wild, no writer would dare pitch them. Secret scandals, impossible comebacks, and every single one actually happened. Let's go! 9. Lee Ji-ah. The woman who lived a secret life even the most seasoned K-drama writers couldn't imagine, and would probably top Netflix charts because of how explosive the twists are.
여기 계신 지 얼마나 되셨습니까?
오늘이 며칠이에요?
Before Lee Ji-ah became known for The Penthouse, Beethoven Virus, and My Mister, Lee Ji-ah's life was already a script waiting to be filmed. In 2011, the entire nation was stunned when news broke that she had secretly been married to Korean rock legend Seo Taiji, the so-called Michael Jackson of Korea. They met in the US when she was only 15, and he was 21. Aside from the questionable age gap, by 19, she had married him, and the two lived quietly in Atlanta and Arizona after Seo Taiji's sudden retirement from the industry. While the rest of Korea thought he had disappeared, he was living a secret married life with Lee Ji-ah. In 2000, Seo Taiji returned to Korea for his career, while Lee Ji-ah stayed in the States, and in 2006, she quietly filed for divorce. The legal battle dragged on for years, complicated by US laws and international jurisdiction. It wasn't until 2011 that their divorce was finalized. The same year, the entire story exploded in the Korean media. When the secret marriage and divorce lawsuit became public, Lee Ji-ah vanished from the spotlight, overwhelmed by the media frenzy. The public was torn. Some pitied her, others criticized her for living a double life. For a while, it seemed her career would never recover. But years later, she returned, and did so quietly but powerfully. Her role in My Mister showed a depth and maturity that earned her critical praise, and The Penthouse cemented her comeback, transforming her from a tabloid headline into one of Korea's most respected actresses. 8. Jang Dong-yoon.
자수를 시키든지 아니면 신고를 하든지. 그때 신고만 했어도 최소한 거기서 멈출 수 있었어요. 그 뒤로 5명을 더 죽였다고요.
Jang Dong-yoon is a real-life hero turned actor, and his story honestly sounds like it was written straight for a K-drama for heroes. Back in 2015, he was just a 23-year-old college student at Hyun-jung University when he witnessed a convenience store robbery in Seoul's Gwanak district. Instead of running away, he bravely stepped in, helping the terrified store clerk escape while confronting the armed thief until the police arrived. His calmness and courage impressed everyone, and the incident made national headlines. Soon after, Jang Dong-yoon was officially commended by the Seoul Metropolitan Police for his bravery. Here's the K-drama twist. Talent agencies saw him on the news. Struck by his looks, composure, and presence, they reached out to recruit him. With no formal acting background, he signed with an agency and made his debut in the web drama Women at a Game Company that same year. Today, he's one of Korea's most respected actors. And it's easy to see why. Not just for his talent, but for being a genuinely righteous person who will step up when it matters most. 7. Ji-sung and Lee Bo-young.
미안하다.
정말 사진 때문이야?
어?
오빠 혹시 나 때문에 이러는가 싶어서.
If there's one real-life romance that could rival any K-drama, it's the love story of Ji-sung and Lee Bo-young. Their romance didn't start with fireworks or instant attraction. It began with rejection. On the set of Save the Last Dance for Me, Ji-sung bravely confessed his feelings, only to hear the words every hopeful lover dreads. She wasn't interested. At the time, Lee Bo-young simply didn't see him that way, and the idea of dating another celebrity didn't appeal to her. But Ji-sung didn't give up. During a casual hangout with friends, he quietly slipped a handwritten note into her bag. A simple, honest confession. It's a scene straight out of a romance K-drama. Except it's real. Lee Bo-young had always imagined dating someone outside the entertainment industry. The idea of another celebrity didn't appeal to her, and she told him so. In response, he jokingly said he'd give up acting if that's what it took for her to say yes. Looking back, she laughs at how easily she fell for his sincerity and determination. For 3 months, Ji-sung kept asking her out, even as she continued to push him away. But his patience and consistency eventually won her over, and what started as a one-sided crush turned into a deep, long-term relationship built on trust and shared values. So next time you think a K-drama romance is too good to be true, remember stories like theirs. 6. Park Bo-gum.
민심에 귀를 기울여야 성군이 된다는데 거란에만 머물러 있어서야 뭐가 들려야지요.
Park Bo-gum's real-life story could easily be a coming-of-age K-drama, full of hardship, faith, and an almost unreal grace through it all. Before becoming one of Korea's most beloved actors, his childhood was anything but easy. His mother passed away when he was in elementary school, leaving him and his 2 older siblings to be raised by their father. From a young age, he learned to rely on himself. But instead of growing bitter, he became kind, thoughtful, and deeply grateful. Even in the face of loss, he developed a quiet strength that would define both his personal life and career. Just when life seemed to be looking up, it threw another curveball straight out of a K-drama. Early in his career, Park Bo-gum unknowingly co-signed a massive loan for his father. When the business failed, the 800 million won debt fell on his shoulders. At just 22, he filed for bankruptcy. Most people would crumble under that pressure, but he faced it head-on with humility and perseverance. After negotiations, the creditor agreed to cancel the debt in exchange for about 30 million won, and within 6 months, it was officially resolved. During that time, he didn't just survive, he continued training, auditioning, and building the skills that would later make him a superstar. Today, Park Bo-gum is one of the most bankable stars of his generation, known not only for his talent, but for his sincerity, kindness, and humility. His life is a real-life K-drama where the good guy doesn't just survive, he grows, he heals, inspires, and ultimately triumphs, proving that even the toughest setbacks can lead to extraordinary success. 5. So-hee.
웃지 마.
웃는 것도 안 돼?
너 나가지고 노는 게 재밌어? 아까 애들 앞에서도 왜 그딴 식으로 얘기하는데 애들이 오해하잖아.
So-hee's life reads like a K-drama you can't look away from, full of hardship, betrayal, and the kind of poetic justice that feels both cruel and fated. Before she became the effortlessly cool femme fatale in My Name, or the fragile heartbreaker in Nevertheless, she was just a girl trying to survive. Her parents divorced when she was little, and it was her grandmother who raised her, the one steady source of love in a life that rarely felt stable. They didn't have much, but her grandmother gave her warmth and enough strength to dream. Money was always tight. After finishing school, So-hee couldn't afford college, so she packed her bags and moved to Seoul with barely 300,000 won, not even enough for a month's rent. She took part-time jobs at bars and restaurants, modeled when she could, and sometimes slept just a few hours a night. Still, she never gave up. Her big break came with The World of the Married, followed by Nevertheless, My Name, and Gyeongsong Creature, roles that made her one of Korea's most talked-about stars. But even after fame, her past found its way back. Her estranged mother repeatedly asked for money, even taking loans under So-hee's name, and later getting involved in illegal gambling. She was eventually arrested and sentenced to a suspended prison term and community service. So-hee's agency clarified she had nothing to do with her mother's actions. And through it all, So-hee stayed composed. She admitted the situation broke her heart, but made it clear she'd only take responsibility for her own life, not someone else's mistakes. That quiet strength, that resilience, it's exactly what makes her feel like the real-life version of the strong female lead we all root for in K-dramas. 4. Kim Woo-bin.
나 살고 싶어요. 나 죽기 싫어요. 살고 싶어요.
If Kim Woo-bin's life were a K-drama, you'd probably call it a melodrama, and you might have to get some tissues for this one. A top star at the height of his fame, a sudden diagnosis that could have ended everything, and a love story that never wavered even through his darkest days. It had all the makings of a script. Except this one really happened. In 2017, just when his career was soaring fresh from his fame from The Heirs and uncontrollably fond, Kim Woo-bin was diagnosed with nasopharyngeal cancer. Doctors told him he might only have 6 months to live. Overnight, everything stopped. Projects, appearances, future plans. He's admitted he was terrified, unsure if he'd ever act again or even survive the treatment. But instead of surrendering, he focused on fighting. Months of chemotherapy and radiation followed. His body changed, but his will didn't. He said later that the hardest parts of that time almost feel erased now, replaced instead by memories of gratitude and clarity. What remained wasn't the pain, but the love that carried him through. That love came most visibly from Shin Min-ah, his longtime girlfriend. She was there from start to finish, at the hospital, during treatments, offering quiet support while avoiding the spotlight. She stood by him not as a celebrity couple, but as someone who simply refused to leave. Her loyalty became one of the most admired real-life love stories in K-drama history, proof that devotion doesn't end when the cameras stop rolling. 3. Go Hyun-jung.
저 화장실이 좀 급한데.
성경책 가지고 와서 가면 안 될까요?
급한데요.
If Go Hyun-jung's life were a K-drama, it would be the ultimate chaebol fairy tale, the kind that starts with glamour, shatters in heartbreak, and ends with a comeback so powerful it rewrites the ending. Back in the 1990s, Go Hyun-jung was the nation's sweetheart, Miss Korea finalist, breakout actress, and the face everyone adored after Sandglass, one of the highest-rated dramas in Korean history. At the height of her fame, she did what no one expected. She married into one of South Korea's richest families, the chaebol behind the Samsung Group. Overnight, she became part of the elite, living a life that most people could only imagine. But real life wasn't a fairy tale. After just 8 years of marriage, the couple divorced. And it wasn't pretty. Go Hyun-jung lost custody of her 2 children and disappeared completely from the public eye. In an industry that's often unkind to women, especially divorced women, it looked like her story had reached its end. Except it didn't. Years later, Go Hyun-jung returned, not seeking sympathy, but as a woman with nothing left to lose. Her comeback project, Queen Seondok, was a massive hit, reminding everyone why she had once ruled Korean screens. Since then, she's crafted a career defined by quiet strength, magnetic presence, and versatility. In 2025, she returned once again with Queen Mantis on Netflix, proving she's far beyond any phase of her past life. 2. Park Bo-young.
할머니, 나 진짜 정신병인가 봐. 다 너무 후회되고 걱정돼서 아무것도 못하겠어.
High school K-dramas often show cruel bullying, and most viewers think, this can't be real. But for one of today's most beloved actresses, it was. Park Bo-young, known for her warm presence on screen, wasn't always so adored. When she started acting in youth dramas during high school, she caught attention, but not all positive. Because she was that actress, classmates began to treat her differently. Some students from other classes put trash in her bag. In her own class, students would knock shoulders at her on purpose. When a teacher displayed a poster of her drama, she begged for it to be taken down, afraid it would make things worse. The isolation, rumors, and spiteful behavior cut deep. But here's the thing, she didn't let it break her. Instead, she worked through it with humility and determination. She still does. Today, Park Bo-young is an actress known not just for her talent, but for kindness, sincerity, and for being real. For fans who saw the bubbly characters on screen and the quiet strength behind them. 1. IU, Lee Ji-yoon.
왜 다 가져가? 왜 내 것만 다 가져가?
If this were a K-drama, it would be the ultimate underdog story. Relentless grit, impossible odds, and a girl who refused to stay invisible. Before Hotel Del Luna and My Mister, IU was just a young girl chasing a dream she barely understood. Her family had once been well off, but a co-signed debt left everything in ruins. While her parents tried to work, IU and her brother lived with their grandmother, who sold small accessories to keep them fed. Their tiny room was infested with cockroaches. Then, they moved to a relative's house, where drunken verbal attacks told her she'd never make it as a singer. Lying there pretending to sleep, IU made a decision. She would prove them all wrong. She auditioned again and again, 20 rejections. She was even scammed by a fake agency, losing her grandmother's hard-earned savings. Yet she never gave up. She loved the training studio because there, she could simply exist without pretending to be anyone else. Then came Good Day. The song shot straight to #1, turning IU from a hopeful singer into a national phenomenon. And from there, she never left the spotlight. But fame never made her forget her roots. Just 1 year after her debut, she bought her father his dream car. A few years later, she paid off her family's debts. Every year since, she has donated generously to underprivileged kids, seniors, and education initiatives, earning her fans' heartfelt nickname, the Donating Angel. By 2025, she had come a long way from that cockroach-filled room. Forbes Korea crowned her Queen of K-pop and K-drama with a net worth of $40 to $45 million, cementing her as one of the most influential and bankable stars of her generation. Her rise proves that sometimes real life can be even more dramatic, heartfelt, and inspiring than any K-drama. And that wraps up our list. So, which story do you think is the most K-drama-like, and which one would you binge watch first? Personally, IU's journey feels like one of those coming-of-age K-dramas you can't pause on Netflix, and I definitely watch it. While you're here, don't forget to check out the actors who somehow survived career-ending scandals in the K-drama industry. Their stories are just as wild as these.